Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Cave After Hours podcast. Here's your host, the one and only, the inimitable, Josh Havens.
What's up, and welcome to the Cave After Hours podcast, the podcast recorded right here in my very own Chicago Bears fan cave. On this podcast, talk about my favorite team, obviously the Chicago Bears, anything going on in the NFL. We interview super fans and owners of fan and man caves, talk about life, you name it, no holds barred podcast. All right, special shout out to our sponsor, Mini Jumbotron Company. I have my very own Mini Jumbotron in my cave, and it's one of my favorite pieces. It's a conversation piece, and people love it. If you don't know what a Mini Jumbotron is, go to their website, minijumbotron.com, and check out the numerous styles they have to complete your build or your space. They have a lot of things you can choose from to get you a Mini Jumbotron. So go to that shop tab, add the kits you need to your cart, and then where you go save some money, go to that promo code, enter the cave. That's right, the cave. That will save you 10% on your build. Thank you, Mini Jumbotron Company. All right, let's get into tonight's show. This is episode 8, and this is with our Bears super fan, and he's also got a fan cave. Let's talk to my man, Tony Lorine, all the way from Pennsylvania, the Cave After Hours podcast. He's going to be my Bears. I did a Bears interview the other day with a super fan. Now we're actually doing a Bears interview with a super fan and has his own fan cave. We'll let him tell you the name of it in a little bit, but how you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. I am so happy to be on. Been a big fan of yours for a long time. Just absolutely love everything you do.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And tell the people where you're from.
I'm originally from New Jersey, South Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. Last 11 or 12 years I've been over in the other side in PA, right outside of Philadelphia, about 10 minutes from the airport. My wife's from over this way, so that's where we're raising our 2 kids. It's Ridley Township, literally 10 minutes from the airport. So
Okay.
Real close to the Philly sports scene.
Right. And you are, you're a family man. I see your kids on there all the time. I saw them with the cave shirt one time that we sent you guys. So got a couple kids and a wife. Is that right?
Yeah. Shane and Reese are 10 and 7, and my wife Maureen.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you said you're originally from New Jersey to Pennsylvania?
Yeah. Right
Okay.
outside a town called Willingboro. If anybody knows Carl Lewis, the track star, it's where he grew up. Right, ton of athletes from that South Jersey area.
Okay, and you're a big baseball fan too, right? Phillies.
Yeah. Actually, baseball is what I started with. Chicago fans would know Greg Lazinski. He played for the Phillies. He's in the Phillies Hall of Fame. He played for the White Sox. He was my coach growing up in high school, and his son Ryan was my best man in my wedding. So I have some connections that way too.
Okay, so you don't miss many Philly games, do you? Probably.
Nah, love it. My bathroom inside my bar is a bathroom, and it's a Phillies bathroom. So
okay.
Yeah. My wife wanted that. If we were gonna have Bear stuff, she wanted a Phillies. So we got that.
How close are you to their stadium?
The airport's 10 minutes, so 15. Because
that's not bad.
Yeah, the complex. If you ever want to see games like Flyers, Sixers, Phillies, Eagles, they're all together.
Okay.
It's a great setup, and it's right off 95, so real convenient. The airport's right there. It's great spot to watch games.
Nice. You live in a decent area, then. Seems like is there anything else famous for your area, like food wise?
The food, you know, if it's legit if they don't say Philly cheesesteak. If they just say cheesesteak, you know it's a legit spot.
Okay.
We don't say Philly cheesesteak. We say cheesesteak. I know other places the food is just any kind of food you want, you can get over here. We're really in a great spot. We're probably a half hour, 20 minutes from Delaware, probably an hour from Maryland, and probably about an hour and a half from New York. So we're in a really good spot as far as, things going on, sports, food, entertainment.
Gotcha. And do you get into the Flyers and 76ers, all that too?
Definitely the Sixers. Not as much hockey, although I really like a lot of how those guys are. They're tough guys. They're pretty humble. Flyers, Phillies, definitely, and obviously the Bears. I do root for the Eagles if they're not playing the Bears. I want them to do well. My family are all Eagles fans. I'm the only Bears fan, so But my dad blessed me. He said, do your own thing. So.
So that brings me to my next question. How did you become a Bears fan?
Well, it's funny. 1983, October 23rd, the Bears beat the Eagles 7-6 at the Vet, old Veteran Stadium, in the rain. It was the first game my dad took me to. Fell in love with Walter Payton and those uniforms. And, I was 10. I looked and I told my dad after the game, I'm like, I think I like the Bears. Is that okay? And he was like, yeah, like who you want to like. So he definitely supported that growing up. I definitely again had a rooting interest for the Eagles, but everything, it was Vince Evans was the quarterback then. Obviously Walter Payton. I was able to buy a ticket. That's actually the game ticket from there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
and when I went, so that was like a big deal. But yeah, the Bears ever since then.
Awesome. So who's your favorite Bears player of all time?
Walter Payton.
Yeah.
He was at the Vet, and it's funny because Greg Lazinski talks about this years later. He was at a game too at the Vet, and Walter Payton's running, and it sounded like a cattle. It just the way he hit and always delivering the blow as a running back. He just absolutely loved the guy. Love everything about him, how he trained, how he worked out. Walter Payton for my money. Probably my other one later was Peanut Tillman.
Okay, yeah.
Definitely love the way Peanut Tillman played. I was a big Urlacher fan. As a player, I love him. I think I kind of got swayed. I'm not into politics and kind of like the way he, not his views, but just how hardcore he became kind of drew me away from him. But definitely loved him as a player. Singletary, the linebacker lore.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Chicago's definitely known for linebackers, especially middle linebackers. But the play all over the years. I always say Chicago. Like I told my one guy, the KC guy, that you guys are kind of known for running backs, and some teams are known for wide receivers. We got the linebackers. I think we got that down.
Bill George Connor. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's and I'm a big sports history person. So the history of the Bears in itself, like, I have a bookshelf full of Bears books, and I just constantly am watching stuff about older play. I have a lot of older player things, pictures and things. That's some of my favorite stuff.
Yeah, I think this past season, TJ Edwards, I mean, he turned it on. He had better numbers than Roquan. People want to give stuff about Roquan, but he had some great numbers.
Josh, it's funny. I coached football for 16 years in high school, eight at my Holy Cross where I graduated, and 8 at Paul VI, another Catholic school. And we always talk about that, how, the value of a guy. And the Eagles have said locally, TJ Edwards, like giving up, they should have re-signed him. And their philosophy is a linebacker isn't as important as the front end and then the back end. And they paid for it a little bit this year. Plus, he's a big team guy. And so it's interesting to see like different philosophies and how people think of, how ownership or GMs view different things. I mean, Howie's been a great GM, has done, he took some knocks early on, but he's really made some big things happen for their roster top to bottom. But that's one area that I think they're starting to realize they really need to shore up.
Right. And I thank them for not re-signing him because he's a Chicago guy too. So I'm glad he made it home.
Oh, I know. The minute we signed him, I was so excited. I follow the draft and free agency. Like that's one of my, I subscribe to a draft guide or Ourlads, Ourlads. It's an independent scouting service that the teams actually, they'll use along with their own scouting department. And you can get it like, it's like $31 or $35, and I've gotten it for the last 20 or so years.
Okay.
And TJ Edwards was undrafted, as from Wisconsin, but even then, they talked about his intangibles, and I'm a big TJ Edwards fan.
Yeah, he played awesome this year.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna guess because I got like 3 tiers of fans. Tier 1 is like me or you probably. I'm assuming that we watch all the draft stuff, all the rumors, and we go and subscribe to things like that. And we also, I know me, I watch all the press conferences. I don't miss a beat. I don't know if you're like that. Yeah.
Can't get enough. If YouTube does, which I love the fact that we have YouTube now, if they do a day in the life type thing, the behind the scenes.
Oh yeah.
I love that. There was one with Ian Cunningham and Ryan Poles going on a scouting trip together. And just I just am fascinated by that.
Yeah.
I also tend to be, I'm a very positive person. I was always the type, like if we lost in high school, I didn't want to read the paper the next day.
Right.
So I find myself deleting Twitter accounts when it gets a little crazy. I follow as many as I can just because I love reading it. But then, 1 minute the guy's a great coach, the next minute he's the worst coach, in the world.
Yeah.
So, and then some of these guys, fans that say they watch film, watching cut up film versus TV is a lot different.
Yeah.
And we're the casual fan, and that's part of fandom. But, these guys get paid to do this for a living. Not to say they don't make mistakes and we're right sometimes and they're wrong. But, I do think sometimes that gets a little, we go up and down as fans with our team. I love them no matter what. I think you said it, the whole debate about Caleb Williams or Justin Fields. My son loves Justin Fields and is absolutely crushed that there's talk of, him going.
Right, yeah.
What I said to Shane is that's part of, being a fan. Sometimes you could still root for Justin if that's what happens.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I'll root for the Bears. I'm with them forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going anywhere.
Absolutely. So let's get into your spot there, man. Tell us the name of your place and what you got going on down there.
So I was thinking of a name. I always wanted this. My wife and I bought about 5 years ago, and I loved that when they partied in the locker room, they used to call it Club Dub.
Right.
And I was like,
Matt Nagy.
Yeah, I was like, not a huge Matt Nagy fan, but I was like, that's great.
Right.
So I would watch all the things, and I'm like, I'm naming my bar Club Dub. And I'm in a Twin. I'm not, I saw Tony's place. I've seen Drew's place. I mean, those guys are just your place, unbelievable. I mean, they're just on another level. And I'm not trying to be that, to that level. Yeah. I'm in a Twin, so I'm in a smaller spot. But I'll tell you what, that was one of the things with the shirts. We designed the shirts, and then on the back it says "All fans welcome."
Right. Yeah, I got one. I should have wore it. I didn't think about it. I just thought about that now.
I just really wanted to be a place that people come. My kids, a lot of times on a Friday night, will watch shows, will watch sports. I have 7 TVs. My goal is to get an 8th, and then I think I'm done. My wife's going to kill me if I keep doing it. But, I mean, we're always putting stuff on, different sports. I mean, football, I have the football package, so everybody comes over Saturdays and Sundays.
Right.
I love it. It's my favorite thing to do is have people over and entertain. And that's why I told you, if you're ever this way, you're all
stop by.
You're
stop by
always
with the cheese.
Welcome.
Stop by for a cheesesteak and a chicken club dub.
And I'll hook you up with the spots, like the good spots. But like even somebody like, Tony was saying or Drew was saying, Green Bay, we're supposed to hate Green Bay. You know what? Secretly, you find out these guys are good guys, and you're like you're half rooting for them. Maybe not their team, but for them.
Yeah.
Because they're just great dudes. Steve Haas, I know him now through Instagram. Him and I talk all the time. Just good dudes. And like I mean, Tony said it about you. I've inboxed you a couple of times, just asking you questions, and you get back right away. And you're just such a good dude. Like,
thank you,
that's
man.
all I could say. You're a guy I'd want to have a beer with.
Right. Yeah. I try to get back with everybody. I mean, there's sometimes I just, you get a message and you might forget a day or two, but I always try to go back and look and see.
But you could also tell you're always doing stuff. Your work.
I'm busy.
Yeah. And you got a tough job there. And, it's, but just seeing like Robbie, I know him now through Instagram.
Right.
And, your buddy, that's the Colts fan, or the Detroit fan rather. I love that,
Richie.
Like
I would say Richie's ass when he gets here's Richie's ass.
I love seeing all those people come. Mysterio, the Mask. It's just awesome. I mean, that's truly what this is all about. And that, as a coach, I was like that with the kids, and I've been lucky. I've had 5 or 6 kids make it to the NFL, and
it's awesome, man.
And that's kind of one of the things you find out. A buddy of mine, Phil, he played 4 years for the Cowboys, was a starting center before the kid from Wisconsin, Fredericks. And I was telling him, I said, you're an undrafted free agent, got to make the team, get into a fight. And I said, make him. So he's a tough kid. He gets into a fight 2 days in a row with Jay Ratliff, notorious one of the
wow.
toughest people in the NFL. But it's one of those things. It turned out where Jay took him under his wing and showed him what a defensive guy's looking for, hand placement, things like that. So for me, it's the experience. It's like this bar creates the locker room experience that I had as a coach and a player.
Awesome. So let's get into the stats of your cave. I always like to go over the stats myself. I got I think 13 TVs now. It's a little ridiculous, but
awesome.
What do you got going on there? I think you said 7 or 8 TVs.
I have 7 now. I have 4 32s, a 27, a 43, and a 55 or 60.
Okay.
And then I think what I'm going to wind up doing is getting one more 32 and just kind of round it off to 8. And it's neat. We were saying if you sit at one spot, any spot in here, you don't have to move your neck. You can see anything you want to see.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So, I got like a half bar, got the fridge,
right.
Some of the lights up, things like that. Memorabilia wise, it's not like that clean look that a lot of them have. I have more of a lot of stuff. And it's stuff I've been collecting since I was a kid, till now. And it's just pictures, the history of the Bears. I try and get, like, if I see something that really catches my eye, I try and get it. I'm running out of wall space.
Yeah, I was going to say, so is there anything you want to add? I mean, you're pretty well established, looks like, down there. I mean, is there anything you can think of?
Yeah,
besides
I
the
kind
TV?
of want some Club Dub signage,
Okay.
just a little bit more of that. Just because I do the shirts, I got a couple of the cups, things like that.
Yeah.
Chris Gronkowski, that played for the Cowboys, his brother's Rob. He's friends with the kid. He has ice shaker, and the guy got me some ice shakers with the Club Dub emblem on it. So
okay.
I like having that stuff, and I love your stuff. Like, that's where I got the idea from.
Oh, dude, okay.
Yeah, I got the championship belt which I wanted.
Right.
The one thing that I wanted, which I don't celebrate my birthday, but I gave my wife an idea, is the ticker. With the sports scores going through. So that's probably the one thing that I still want.
Okay.
I'm good. I
you
have
got
a card collection, and I keep getting signed balls and helmets, things like that. Walter Payton rookie is my last one of his cards I need.
Okay. You got anything signed from him?
Yeah. I have a couple things signed, which they're huge.
Yeah.
And then, like, I've seen you put out the stuff where there's a signing and it's somebody you trust. So, like, that's nice to know, because there's a lot of fake stuff out there.
Oh yeah. I've been trying to post it on my stories if there's somebody like Sweat was signing, and then Ron Rivera. I've been trying to post that on my stories so people, because you can send the item in, and I do that a lot with these Facebook groups. And then I'll send them the item, and they get it signed for me, send it back. I just put this shipping label in there, but it's very cool. Then I don't got to make the trip all the time, because it's it's hard, especially during the week. So
yeah. I mean, it's crazy, but that's the kind of anything like that. I just got 2 Sweat, the mini helmets, and then a football. My wife, the joke is with my wife, when I die, she's going to have a funeral in the house, in the base, in Club Dub, and then an auction next to it, and people can get tickets and buy all the stuff.
Yeah.
So I told my kids I'd leave it to them, but we'll see.
I don't know where my son's a Bears fan, but I don't know if he's be interested in, like, building a cave, or I guess if he didn't want to buy the house or take the house over, he's already here, but he likes to watch it in his room and be to himself. So
no, and it's funny. I mean, it's a little morbid that you do think about it from time to time, like what would happen to all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's hope. I would make sure somebody got it and put it to good use, because the fact that some of this stuff, like, I have a Red Grange signed picture, that it's not that I have a Red Grange signed picture, it's that it lasted through history, like that.
Right, yeah.
I'm always fascinated by that, or just seeing guys we remember when they came into the league, and then now they're older, and just different things like that. It's pretty exciting, the history of it.
Right. So this next segment is called my overtime, or my fifth quarter.
Buckle up, sports fans. Sit tight. Brace yourselves. It's time for overtime.
I'm going to ask you 5 questions, just random stuff. So the first one I got for you is, if you could make one career change, what would it be? Like, if you could just do your dream career job.
So I'm a counselor. That's what I do for a living.
Okay.
Absolutely love it. I would say physical therapist.
Okay.
I think because being a coach, one of the things, it's as much mental as it is physical. And one of the things, I tore both my Achilles at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And coming back from that, it's, you do the physical part, but the mental part, and if you had a good physical therapist, and I had a good one, it really helps. And to me, I think you're seeing people at their worst and getting them back to their best.
Right.
I think supporting people. So probably physical therapist
Gotcha.
would be mine.
Okay. And if Tony's about to sit down and watch a game with the family or friends, and he's gonna have his best food for the game besides cheesesteaks, what you bring to the table?
100%. 100% nachos.
There you go. Yeah.
Big nacho person. Chicken, meat, however you like it. Definitely pizza. We always have pizza. And my wife makes a ton of different dips. She makes a Mexican dip in the crock pot that's phenomenal. Okay. So any kind of chips, dips, things like that. And then I'm not a huge drinker, but when I do, I like whiskey.
Good. Okay. I saw you smoking some cigars too.
Love cigars.
Right.
Huge cigar person. Again, I try not to do it all the time, but love cigars.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Next one, I'm 0 for 3 or 0 for 2 or 0 for 3, but I always ask this: have you ever smuggled something into your cave that, man, your wife doesn't know about it? You just kind of set it up there, and eventually she might have seen it or she might not. I know I've done it a few times, but what about you?
100%. Yes. Multiple times. And then I'm not a good liar. I'll say, oh no, I got that 5 months ago. And she's like, no, you didn't.
Right.
My wife could be a detective. She's so good. Yeah, I've done that a lot.
Okay.
She's a Catholic school teacher. I'm a school counselor. It's not like we're setting the world on fire with finance. So she also does the banking.
Okay, so you gotta be sneaky about it.
Yeah. But she knows. It brings me pure happiness. I actually love sitting here just kind of looking at all this stuff, and not from a materialistic standpoint. Just it's how much I love the Bears.
Yeah, and the nice thing too is, that's why I tell people, you don't got to try to compete with me or Drew or anybody else. Your spot is your spot, and if you love it, that's all that matters, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's true. It's you guys, and that's a credit to you guys. I mean, like I said, I'm so impressed with what you're able to build and do, and the fact that you're a full-time detective, but that's your previous life, and I'm not as handy that way, and I wish I was. And people are like, YouTube it, but I'm worried I'm gonna mess something up.
Right.
I actually watch other people's stuff, and I start rooting for them. The guy that won the Jumbotron.
Right.
First of all, I was like, if I won, I didn't know where I was going to put it because I have a drop ceiling. But I'm happy for other people. That's kind of how that works. It's like when the playoffs start. We've had some lean years, but I do like Andy Reid was an Eagles coach. He's a great guy. He's had it rough with his sons. I want him to win because he is a good coach. I do want the 49ers to win because somebody like Tony Roach, or guys like that, guys on the team, you kind of root for them, and you just want them to do well. So that's kind of how I am.
Right.
I love seeing teams celebrate. I love the locker room part. I wish they didn't celebrate as much on the field like they do. I wish they kind of went back to the old way. I know it's a marketing thing.
Yeah.
But that's, when Phil was playing for the Cowboys, I found myself, he would tell me about guys and what great guys they are, and I'm like, wow, could you get me this signed for him? And he'd send me some stuff signed, but I'm like, it's the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys. I'll never root for the that's the one thing, especially in this area. You don't, and he grew up an Eagles fan. So it's funny, but he played against the Bears twice, and his rookie year, he didn't play, he was inactive, and I said, how was it? He goes, I stood next to Urlacher. He's like, man, that dude's big. And just hearing those stories, and I love all that stuff. I love hearing it. When you go to the games and you're hanging out and just kind of seeing what you're doing, it's just cool. I mean, I guess that's the fan piece that I love the most.
Right. All right, question 4. If you have to give up one team, Phillies or Bears?
Phillies.
That easy,
Phillies.
Huh?
It's funny because I worked for them for a year out of high school, and I've loved them since I can remember. But the Bears are my team.
Right.
It's Bears for life.
Okay. And the last question, if you were the GM of the Bears or former GM, if you could take one draft pick back in the history of the Bears, I'll give you mine after you tell me yours, but who is yours?
And again, a guy that I think is a class act, but I said it then and I'll say it now. Trubisky moving up, and I would have taken Mahomes. That's who I like coming out.
Right.
That would have been the pick, and it's nothing against Mitchell Trubisky. I just thought that much of Mahomes.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually, when they moved up, I thought they were going to go for Watson. When they did that, but then I was really disappointed when they picked Mitch. I thought Deshaun. I mean, maybe it's better now because he wasn't getting massages in Chicago. But
I'll tell you what, you know what Josh talking about that too. And I know he had a big injury and that cost him, but just to see the play decline.
Yeah.
And listen, for all intents and purposes, he's always been a good dude.
Right.
That was crazy when that all came out and the numbers, but I'm still shocked by the play, like at how far that's declined. And I know some guys can like compartmentalize, and maybe he's not one that can, but
right.
Yeah.
He kind of fell off.
He fell off. He really did. Joe Flacco, where I coached at Paul VI, he grew up. He was right there. He's a guy that he went to Pitt, couldn't beat out Tyler Packo, and he transferred to Delaware. A great guy, and look what he did for him this year.
Yeah.
But you're on the hook for what? $250 million?
Yeah, for a while too. So
yeah.
My pick was Kevin White. That pick was terrible. It just, I think it was we were picked fourth. He was picked fourth, fifth, or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was just
could not get healthy.
No, couldn't get healthy, and then just a big bust.
They said
I look back on that draft. There was a lot of good players that went in that draft.
They said with him too, that injury they should have known. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's not an injury you really come back from. And,
right.
And again, that's a guy that had a good year, 1 year.
Yeah.
To pick him that high, you got to know.
Exactly that. Well, like Mitch, like one year, and that was it. So
he had like 12 starts.
Yeah, something dumb.
Yeah. It's and again, I mean, we can look back. There's some of those picks where you're like, wow. But then, like, the greatest draft ever to me is Dick Butkus and Gale Sayers, back-to-back picks.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
You can't.
2 Hall of Famers.
And 2 of the best ever at their position.
Gale Sayers is actually lived next town over in Wakarusa here. And he would eat. Yeah, he would eat at a restaurant just down the road from here. But I never ran into him. I always wish I could, but his health started declining and all that. But I always heard he was a good dude.
He was that sick. Funny story about him. Greg, when Greg was in high school, he's from Niles, Illinois. He went to Notre Dame. He was an All-American linebacker, and he had a bunch of scholarships to Notre Dame, places like that. He got recruited to Kansas, and when he was they went to a basketball game. His host was Gale Sayers, and Gale Sayers' wife was pregnant with their oldest. I think it was like 1968. I used to ask Greg all the Bear stories. He used to drive McCaskey, the son, to high school. They went to the same high school, so I would always ask him different questions about Papa Bear and
right.
It's weird. I've been very fortunate to intersect with different people that have had that, and he's still a big Bears fan. He's an Eagles fan too because he lived here for the longest time. But I would quiz him all the time on the Bears and different guys, Ditka and Butkus and
right.
Yeah. So
what do you think of it? Let's get into some Bears talk now. What did you think of this past season with the Bears?
I think I was disappointed how it started. I think one of the best teams by the end, all around. I think again, you can't run a screen game with a quarterback like Justin Fields.
Right.
I know people are saying we're still missing people, and I agree with that, but I also think you have to scheme towards your strength.
Right.
I think getting the ball out of his hand, was important. He can make those throws. I think, they did it a little too much here with Jalen Hurts, but I think have him designed runs. They did a little bit more of that at the end. It opened it up. You start taking a linebacker that's got to spy him. They didn't spy him in the beginning of the year. They were like, you know what, we're gonna bracket him on the outside and make him throw. They started running them. It changes things. I think Eberflus being the play caller, I think is huge. I love him in that role.
Right.
I was watching about the D coordinator's press conference, and one of the analysts was like, "Oh, he's talking about rushing the quarterback. He shouldn't be." And I said, "Don't worry about that. Eberflus is calling the plays."
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that we're headed in the right direction. I have a ton of faith in Ryan Poles. I really do.
I was going to ask you, what do you think of how he's done so far?
I don't know how. If you look at the draft last year, free agency, who he brought in, how he did it, I think. How can you not say the guy did a great job?
Right. Yeah.
I do think we had some injuries so like any team, you got to stay healthy, and we need some pieces. I mean, he took a roster that was one of the worst in the league.
Yeah.
You know,
and stripped it down. And like I tell a lot of people, you can say the Bears been rebuilding since '85, but this is the first one I can remember that they actually just took it down to the studs, like got rid of everybody. Because Ryan Pace, his big thing was he'd like to retool and try to patch some stuff here and there, but never really tore it down like a start over, a redo, which is kind of hard to do.
Right.
I guess in the middle of your GM tenure.
Right.
And Poles was like, hey, if I'm going to come in, we're going to do it my way. We're going to take it down to the studs and rebuild from the draft, in which he's done excellent in the draft. I think Bayless is the only one I really don't like.
Right.
But
Same.
Other than that, I think every other pick, the 6th, 7th rounds, you never know with them, but the earlier round picks have done well.
I just, Dexter is showing that he could be an elite player.
Right.
I think he's depth. I love Roshan Johnson. I think, Sewell, just who he signed in free agency, Tremaine Edwards, that long, guys are, you overpaid. Yeah. You didn't overpay because you have the money. It's not,
exactly.
That's what people don't realize. You do have to spend. And the Bears were in that thing where if you didn't spend, I think Jalen Johnson deal will get done. I'm not worried about that at all, especially with the $30 million increase. I think Kyler Gordon came into his own.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. We're in such a hurry up pace now with everything.
Yeah.
I think guys, they forget, years ago, guys, it would take a year or two to kind of get their footing, and you're still going to have some guys like that need that. So, I think the O-line, we gotta do something there. I think get another good corner. I don't know what's going to happen at quarterback. I think I know what's going to happen at quarterback.
Right.
I think they're going to go with Caleb. And I do, excuse me, I do understand too. Financially, we look at it as fans, and I love Justin Fields. I love everything about the guy. But I do think Caleb makes sense from a financial standpoint because then you reset. You now can use money other places. I think Justin Fields, we win with Justin? I think we can.
Right.
But I also understand it can be both things. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be Caleb Williams we can win with too. It can be, some of the other stuff that they're talking about, painting his fingernails, his dad. I don't pay a lot of attention to that. I think, if you can play, you can play. I think sometimes we get a little too into scheme and zone. Put the tape on.
Yeah.
He had a horrific offensive line. He played, I think it was 3 games last year that were bad. Other than that, statistically, he did really well. Is there stuff he has to work on? Yeah, but he's a college, he's not an NFL quarterback. Patrick Mahomes came in, there was stuff he had to work on. And I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes, but that could be the ceiling for him.
Right. Absolutely.
So
that's the thing I have a hard time dealing with. I mean, I love Justin so much, and he came into a shitty situation, lame duck coach, lame duck GM, and then that whole nonsense with we're going to start Dalton for a year, and then Justin will come in, and then it just got all haywire the first year. Then you go into the second year, it's a rebuild year, so then his weapons are Deontay Pettis, not in the league, N'Keal Harry, I don't even know if he's in he might be on a practice squad somewhere.
Right.
And then you have all you had that year was Mooney, and then Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
So then the third year, who's he have? DJ, Cole Kmet, Mooney was hurt, and so has he gotten a fair shake?
Yep.
I don't think so. And the people are like, he's got to get rid of the ball sooner. I'm a big stats guy, and like I told Steve the other day, I looked at the separation rate and the rankings. The Bears were 30th or 31st in the league in getting separation off the line.
Right.
So is he going to throw it if they're not open? No.
Right.
I mean, so it's hard to judge if he has, if it's because he hasn't had a talent around him, or could he make a leap if he had better players? I mean, look at Brock Purdy. He's got a good team.
That's what
I mean, could he play on the Bears or Carolina?
I 100% with what you said, and that, and again, I go back to I trust Ryan Poles.
Right.
If it's Justin Fields, I'm going to be thrilled. If it's Caleb Williams, I'm going to root for the guy. At the end of the day, I want the Bears to win, and it's funny because there was this talk around in Kansas City when what's his name was the starter, and Mahomes was drafted, and he didn't sit the first year, and then Mahomes has played so well, you forget about, who's before and that type of thing. At the end of the day, I just want the Bears to do well. I'll never get on and bash them. I just, there's stuff I always say there's conversations we're not privy to. There's things going on in the locker room. There's things going on, that they're seeing different things. I just want them to win. I'm so sick of watching the playoffs and we're not in it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's old after a while.
Yeah. But again, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm rooting for them no matter. As long as they got the C on the helmet,
yeah,
I'm in.
Well, like I tell people, we can talk trash about our team, but you better not, because then we put the Dukes up. Like Green Bay fans, the Green Bay fans always the Bears suck, blah blah blah. And I'm like,
yeah.
After a while, I blocked a few of them because I'm like, you know what? You can say it so much, but you keep getting on my nerves.
Right.
Yeah, you got to go. You got to go.
Yeah,
so.
and it's funny because you and I talk, and I keep mine private, and more just because I'm a school counselor type thing.
Right. Yeah.
But when I saw all the stuff you were getting, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's relentless sometimes.
I just can't go on somebody else's thing and give them a hard time. Like it's just. I don't know. It's just not my thing.
Trolls are weird.
Yeah. It's a weird thing, and sometimes there's some funny things that go. I love reading some of the stuff that goes on.
Right.
I always think like Kevin Durant always kills himself. Where he does stuff and he says the wrong thing, and then people just go. I mean, the internet's undefeated, but I don't know. I just don't know how you go on somebody else's thing and be negative with
bash them.
Yeah. Like I said, even with Green Bay, listen, I want Green Bay when we play them. I want to destroy them, but there's a lot of good people, just as many good Green Bay fans as there are Bears fans.
Yeah, I went there. You saw when I went there with Drew and I watched the game, took a game, but their fans were all cool. I had no problems. There was one drunk guy in the bathroom trying to start some stuff, but
there's always one.
There's always one. So other than that, I mean, like I always say, you can hate the team, you don't have to hate the person. So
right.
I mean, yeah, I'm not a big Green Bay fan, but
Green Bay House does what you did. Green Bay House raised money for charity.
Yeah.
And that can drive, that was so cool when I was like,
oh yeah,
just the fact that you do stuff like that too. I
right.
mean, I'm telling Josh, you're such a class act, and
thank you.
Nah, I mean it. Like, just it's so good to be able to pick your brain and see what you do, and
anytime, man, anytime.
Even when we're feeling bad about things.
Right. So, I mean, do you think? I mean, this is your opportunity. Do you think they're going to pass on? What's your thought? Pass on Fields, or pass on Williams and trade back, or what? Like, what's your final thought on that?
I think, and again, I haven't seen anything where I'm like, oh, that, he said this word here, so it means. I think they're taking Caleb Williams. I think. Okay. I think a couple things. I think, do they know for sure? No, not yet. I definitely think you go to the combine, you get in front of them, and it's not him performing; it's the interview. What they did last year with the guys playing miniature golf and darts and things.
Right.
I think that is such a smart thing. I think they're going to go around, and I think they're going to do that almost thing you do in school. Everybody put your head down. Raise your hand if you want Caleb Williams. Raise your hand if you want Justin Fields. And then Ryan Poles is going to ultimately make the final decision. But I think, that's one of the things he does. His system is that. I think they're taking him. I think it makes sense. I think I could definitely see Fields going to Atlanta. Atlanta's got pieces right now to win right now. I would root like hell for Justin if that did happen. I can't see them keeping him just because of the financial commitment. And I mean, I would put it back to you. do you think they're sold? I agree with you that he has come into a bad situation.
Right.
But the problem is now you're at a point where you either pick up the option. They're not going to draft both.
Right. Yeah.
I've heard
stupid.
that being floated around. I've heard
It never
they're going
works.
to go after Drake May. They're not going after Drake May.
Right.
The only other guy, and I think his makeup, again, I haven't seen him enough. I think Jaden Daniels is legit.
Right.
I do. And I think what I've heard about him as a person, I think he, the way he is, I just don't think they're going to pass up Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Poles has too much to lose. I mean, if you pass on him and he turns into, let's say, a Mahomes type or whatever, you might as well pack your bags because Bears fans will never forget that. And he's got more reasons to get rid of Justin than keep him. He's given him 3 years now, and the opportunity to seize it. And I think that Green Bay game was the nail in the coffin. I mean, I know there was a lot of injuries. There was a couple guys on the line that were off. Cole Kmet broke his wrist that game, and basically it was just him and DJ Moore that game.
Yeah.
And we only lost by 8.
Yeah.
So, hey, but he didn't, I wanted him to explode that game, score 30, let's beat him up. And I don't think it'd be a question if that was the case.
Yeah. I think, if you look at Green Bay, Jordan Love did not have, he had the 1 first-round pick receiver. Besides that,
right.
They're all a couple undrafted late-round guys. And I heard somebody say, it actually was, what do you call it, the defensive end for Alex Brown said it. I want one of those.
Right.
I want one of those quarterbacks. And I know what he's saying. Again, I love Fields. I think what has blurred the line for a lot of us is we know what Fields is like off the field. He's
right.
Everybody loves him. He's a stand-up dude.
Oh yeah.
He's a guy you root for. And I think that's blurred it a little bit. I think if we found out he was a jerk or an idiot, it'd be easier to say. But I think as much as I hate to admit it, I think seeing the way Jordan Love played, they were a little beat up too at the end of the year,
right.
and just the way they got in the play calling. Again, I go back to the play calling. You got to have it comes down to coaching. You got to put players in position to succeed. I mean,
exactly
that but I do. I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's the money that we've got. I think he's going to add some pieces in free agency. I think
right.
draft wise, I'm thinking a 2nd-round pick, and maybe depending on how desperate they've got to make a decision soon, because the later they go on it, the more a team might pivot in a different direction.
Right.
So I think this is the end of February. I would say in the next 10 days he's going to be traded.
Okay,
that's
and,
my guess.
What would you want to do with the number 9 pick?
I'm all about. I want Verse or the kid from UCLA that's had he had to retire. I'm a little worried about that.
Right.
He is fast. I mean, he's fast. He's I like those guys. I definitely think you don't necessarily have to go receiver there. You could pick up some receivers. I do like some of the receivers. I think it's a deep class.
Yeah.
I think Neighbors is big, and that would complement more.
Right.
I wish to God Mooney was healthy and back, because I love Darnell Mooney, but I think I could see him going to a place like Kansas City.
Yeah. Ever since his injury, he hasn't been the same, I don't think.
No. And I think his skill set is one that it only fits certain things now. He's a smallish guy. He's not the biggest guy, so I could see them doing some things with him there.
Right.
I don't know. I'd like to go defensive end. I'd love to have a bookend. I think in free agency they could do that though too.
Right. Yeah.
I love the center, Jackson Powers, that they're talking about.
Yeah.
I saw Mason Cole just got released from Pittsburgh.
Okay. Yeah.
He was a cap casualty. There's some centers out there. We got to get a center.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was weak.
And Tevin has to stay healthy. I know that's out of his control, but he is so good.
Right. When he's up to speed. Yeah. He's a monster.
He's a monster. I'm a little disappointed in the right guard. I thought, I don't know what's going on. There were a couple games he was inactive, and it wasn't injury.
Right.
So I hope he comes
Nate
back.
Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he had a difficulty with his mom, or
is that what was going on?
Yeah.
Oh.
So he took it really bad, I guess, all year long. So
well,
I'm
then
hoping
you
that.
know what? I see. To me, that's not more important than you playing for us. What's more important is your mom. So, to me, if I didn't realize that, that's
Yeah.
huge. Then
Yeah.
God bless him. His mom's more important than football.
Right. So last question, prediction wise, let's say we have Justin, let's say we have Caleb. What's the record prediction do you think for next year for both? Because I don't think we're going to be as good with Caleb because he's a rookie. That's just how rookies go. Well, look at CJ Stroud, but that's an anomaly.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. I think I could see us being around 8-8, or not 8-8. What's that? 9-7 with Justin 10-7. That that area, that 9-10 win thing, and I don't think with Caleb it would be that much less. I do think it could right around 500, maybe a game under.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. If the play calling's good and the pieces around him are complementary, something Justin hasn't had, I could see him having around the same amount of wins. But
Gotcha.
I also think Justin could. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, man.
And you know what? Detroit's tough. Green Bay's tough. I think Minnesota's going to be last. I don't know what they're going to do. I think they took a step back.
Right. Yeah.
I can't see him giving Cousins the money.
Yeah. And I like, and some people like, the Green Bay's got their Hall of Fame. They think they already got a third Hall of Fame quarterback. I like slow your roll. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, I like the fact that the division is competitive because it makes Ryan Poles have to work harder. And if you're in a division, let's say like Tampa, Atlanta, where it's just mediocre division with Carolina and all that, then is your GM gonna work his ass off to, we gotta really fight for this division. So he's gonna put all his work into it, and I just think I think we got good things coming up, man.
And I think it's good for football when our division's good.
Right, absolutely.
I just think, in general, I'm excited. I'm very excited about the future with Justin, without Justin. Just the way I'm a big Poles fan.
Right.
And listen, I hope he's here 20 years and, keep turning it over and doing things. I don't know if we're going to win. I'm not, crazy. And like you said, Jordan Love being a Hall of Fame. Jordan Love's a good quarterback right now. And let's keep it at that. I want Caleb or Justin to be in that top 10 conversation year in and year out. And then move up to that like top 5. And I'll be happy.
Right.
As long as they have that uniform on, though, that's what I'm rooting for, man. I love them. And we're in a much better spot than we were, 3-4 years ago.
Absolutely. All right, man. I thank you for coming on. And hey, where can they follow you at? Now, listen, if you're gonna follow Tony, you're gonna follow him for his club dub and his don't give him no stuff, don't give him no shit or talk no trash because he'll block you. I told him to block you, because he's private. So if you want to follow Club Dub, and we're going to get some videos up here on the podcast to show his place off. But anyways, where can they find you at, man?
It's Tony Lorine 14 on Instagram.
All right, man. Hey, appreciate you coming on. Hey, you going to come back for some Bears talk during the season?
I want to be your roving reporter.
There you go. We'll have you on, man.
I want to be your reporter. Yeah, dude, Josh, I mean it. You are the best. Everything you do, man. I'm glad that, to get a friendship out of this.
Hey, awesome, man. Hey, it's always cool meeting cool people on Instagram, so I appreciate it. And thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Tony. Finally got to talk to you in person. I appreciate you coming on the show. And everybody, thank you for watching. And remember, leave us a comment and let us know how we're doing in those comments. Hit that like button. Give us a follow. We can be found on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget this fall, we'll be going live shows every Monday after the game, probably between 7 and 8. We'll do it right here from the cave. So as always, thanks again and good night.